Hey folks, welcome to another brand new episode of CPOV Autographs. I, of course, am Matt, aka Stormageddon, and we're going to just get right into this week's episode. I am chatting with Margaret Mae, who writes for TTRPGs such as The Uncaged Goddess and Uncaged Anthology. She loves board games. We talk about creating D&D characters, using our imagination to craft worlds and things within that world. We chat about Leverage Redemption and how great that show is, and much, much more. It was an incredible conversation. She is delightful to talk with. So without further ado, here's my incredible interview with Margaret Mae. I'm chatting with the incredible Margaret Mae. We got connected, I believe, through Tim Rodriguez is our connection point. We'd played board games together years and years ago, back before the pandemic was a thing. But Margaret, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I'm really excited to have you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm delighted to be here. And that is such a blast from the past, being able to play board games in person in Brooklyn, which I don't live in anymore. Like those were good days. And
where are you now? I didn't realize you were in Brooklyn anymore.
I'm in the Chicagoland area, which is apparently what people actually call it out here. I was worried it'd be like the Big Apple and how nobody who lives there calls it that.
Correct.
And then I got here, it's like, oh no, locals are calling it that. Okay, this is actual lingo. All right, cool.
Yeah, there's no faster way to spot a tourist than someone who goes, I'm in the Big Apple, and we go, you're not from around here, are you?
Like, fold up your map, get out of the sidewalk. Yeah. Yeah, but I moved out here in the spring of 2019 and was really excited. Like got the new job on lock, got the new apartment on lock, and was like, all right, well, starting in spring 2020, I'm going to get out there and explore everything Chicago has to offer. And I am still looking forward to doing that someday. But yeah, yeah. Is it too real? Is it too early? Is it too late? Fine. I don't know.
No, It's fine. We can get real. It's fine. No, but I'm really excited to chat with you. I mean, I knew you had a love of board games. We often geeked out about the same stuff on Twitter. But I started doing some research into some of the work you've done. And so you're a TTRPG writer. You've worked on both the Uncaged Anthology and the Uncaged Goddess, which I had never heard of until I looked them up. I admit, as much of a D&D player as I am, and Pathfinder player, pretty much all tabletop, I don't look at the custom stuff as much. I've learned a lot of it by interviewing folks who've made it and doing some research on stuff. So for those who are uninitiated, even if they are D&D fans, can you talk a little bit about what the Uncaged Goddess is?
Sure. Okay. Ooh, exciting. I do marketing in the day job, so I feel like I should really have like a really tight 15-second explanation, but I love it too much and I want to talk about it too much. So I'm just gonna tell you all the things I love about it. A couple of years ago, a wonderful editor, writer, human named Ashley Warren put on Twitter, I really wish we could reimagine a lot of the femme-coded creatures in D&D to be a little more interesting. And interest exploded in that. It turned into, she asked for pitches and got not enough for one book. She got enough for 4 books.
Wow.
So that birthed the Uncaged Anthology. It was originally going to be like one book. I believe. I am not Ashley. I do not see into her mind. But I think she was saying maybe one little collection of adventures if people are interested. That would be my guess going into something like that. And its interest was ridiculous. I'd been homebrewing D&D content. I got started as a dungeon master homebrewing because my local knit night gathering wanted to try D&D at a fiber festival we were going. No lie, it was the nerdiest thing I'd done to that point. But I wrote a D&D adventure about like, it's the same festival ground map, but oh no, there's a monster, and you all are adventurers who are going to save the festival. And we've been rotating DMs on that campaign for the past 5 years now.
Wow.
It's not super regular. We play when we can, but we play every year at the same time as the Viber Festival, and it's a thing. But to date, that was all I had done. My then boyfriend, now husband, sent me this tweet from Ashley Warren being like, hey, this sounds like your stuff. Do you want to pitch this? Like, well, I write nerdy things. Sure. What was she going to say? No, that's fine. And I pitched my my first idea was about dryads, but some people had some really excellent ideas about dryads. And I said, but I've got more. If there are a bunch of dryad adventures. She's like, sure, send me more. So I have just been talking about what I loved about doing with Uncaged, but I'll zoom out and give like the overview. I pitched her an adventure about muses. Now, the whole idea with Uncaged is to reimagine what is already written. Now, muses aren't a centerpiece of D&D like in the actual published stuff, but those of us who went through the Greek mythology phase, sometimes it's a lifestyle, sometimes it's a phase, whatever. Those of us who went through it are like, yes, the muses, this is amazing. So as a muse fan, I was like, wouldn't it be more interesting if instead of waiting to be blessed by a muse and their whole role is to give you stuff, to turn that sort of giving tree approach to it on its head and be like, all right, why don't you try to earn the favor of a muse? And how about it's D&D? So it's life-threatening. You earn it or you probably die as a character. So yeah, it's dangerous. It was the highest tiered adventure I'd done, and tier being like the levels of players. So if for the uninitiated, I suppose, when you have a D&D character, they like, you might start out at level 0 or level 1 and then work your way up to level 20. This adventure was for around, it's tier 3. So I think the actual numbers are like 10 to 15 in there. So higher level, you got cool spells and awesome weapons at that point. Like you can do lots of multi-attacks probably, depending on who you are. But yeah, I developed this adventure that I was really proud of, and the organization of the whole project was great. This adventure series came together really beautifully. I've got all 4 volumes sitting on my shelf now, and it was really a joy to work with this team and be able to be part of such a weirdly cool creative endeavor.
That's awesome.
That meme of like, we will defile it all with our womanly hands got joked about a lot in the Uncaged Discord, because it's not all women, it's lots of marginalized identities, but the idea was bring people in who have felt gate-kept out, sure, and have viewpoints that aren't, it's feminine, so it's sexy or bad or both. And it blossomed into this really cool community.
That's really awesome. I mean, like for me, D&D was one of those things that when I was growing up, like I had a friend who was he was an encyclopedia for D&D knowledge. And like, if people didn't memorize the book the way he did, he'd sometimes make you feel bad about it, but not on purpose. It's just kind of like, how do you not know this thing? How can you play D&D? But as I got older, more DMs that I've worked with and more campaigns that I've played, it's more, all right, well, you have a baseline knowledge. That's fine. Let's meet in the middle and figure out how we get to you where we want you to be for the campaign. And that's been great. And even my friend who used to be more, not necessarily gatekeeping, but just like of a certain view, has come around and is like, all right, let's focus on your strengths. What kind of character do you like playing? You know, if you can't come up with a story, let me help you. Here's a suggestion and all that stuff. And so I love hearing that about custom made things like this, or things that are just outside the main D&D through line, because it just expands the world. Have you been playing D&D since you were a little kid?
No, I wish I had been. I honestly lived that particular like nerd kid experience of, I've got like 2 friends and none of us have that friend who can get you in D&D. You know, having been a teacher explained what Google was in high school. That's how old I am. And so we didn't really have access to online tools. The internet still went out if someone picked up the phone. You couldn't Google these things. And we didn't have somebody who was already playing. I mean, this was like late 90s, mid aughts. So we weren't in the fabled satanic panic anymore, but D&D hadn't really had its, I don't know if they're calling it a renaissance. That feels kind of cheesy, but it got really big again when 5th edition was released in 2015. And that was when I started playing. I dabbled a little bit in a couple of different games, but I hadn't found that sweet spot of like the right group for me to play with, the right like adventure and the secret sauce that happens when like it finally clicks. I didn't find that till later in life. I've always been a dork.
Sure. I mean, we can smell our own. It's fine.
I mean, yeah, right. And something I've joked about when I was learning new board games was like, well, I mean, just if I can turn it into an RPG, we're good. Like I'll play anything, just but let me like get into character a little bit, and I'll use a silly voice. It makes it easier with games where, especially if I'm losing, I can be like, oh, well, clearly it's hubris because I've been ridiculous this whole time or something. It's just getting into a character was always a lot of fun, and making stuff up was always a lot of fun. And I'm not above, well, like back then it was, I'm not above dressing up. Now it's, heck yeah, let me dress up. Can I cosplay this? But yeah, I hadn't gotten into it as a kid. I was lucky enough to meet the right people to DM for me as an adult.
Yeah, I mean, most of my friends have gotten, like, I've played since I was in college, but like I started playing when 3.5 was just about at the end of its life cycle, and 4.0 was coming out. But like me and my friends hated 4.0 so much that we like hard dodged towards Pathfinder. And then when 5e came out, like it made it so much more accessible. But also I discovered around that time that it was less about the addition of D&D or even the game at all, whether it was, you know, Vampire the Masquerade or Star Wars or whatever. It's more about the people you're playing with. Do you get on with the DM? Do you like your party? Can you roleplay the character? Can you find something to love? Like in my current 2 campaigns that I'm playing, in one, it takes place in, I don't think it's in Egypt, but it's in an Egyptian-like setting.
Oh, cool.
And I'm a druid, but because we're in the desert, I'm a different kind of druid, right? Like I'm not a forest and floral kind of druid. I'm more of the nature and the wildlife kind of druid, and like the you know, manipulating the elements more than you know, communing with the animals. And then in my other campaign, we're doing Strahd, which I've never done in all these years. I'd never played Strahd before. Ooh. And so when my friend told me he was doing Strahd, I was like, okay, but what if, see, I just watched the first 2 seasons of the Castlevania anime and I just want to be Trevor. Can we just make me Trevor? And so I'm an Oath of Vengeance paladin with a whip,
yes, you do.
With a chain whip. And yeah, but I made my character way queerer than Trevor is. Although I'm not convinced that Trevor is straight, but made my character queerer. He has a husband and all this. And like, that's been really fun. I can't always wrap my mind around a character on my own. Sometimes I need like a focal point. Like there have been several campaigns where me and my friends have made characters that are sort of like certain superheroes, like a paladin who's like Captain America, who only fights with his shield and throws it, things like that. Like when creating a character for D&D, whether it's for something you're writing or just something to play with friends, do you have a starting point that you like to go to, or is it always like whatever pops into my head? Like how do you create a character?
Oh, dang. This is such a good question. And I have so many answers to it. So I actually have an example I really want to tell you about. But to start with, I'll just bait the hook with that. The short answer is there isn't a go-to. When I get an idea, I try to write it down. And if I write it down enough, I remember to do it. And like my first character that I built for a campaign, I have described as like if Thor and Santa got in a transporter accident. That's basically like MCU Thor, to be clear. And it's like Paladin of Lathander, as you do. But I was like, well, clearly we need a backstory for how like worship in his temple works. And I'm playing this character. I'm pretty sure he's Pan. Okay, that's good to know. And all right, well, I need to understand how temple structure works as far as the festivals and like. I would say my poor DM, but my DM loved it, so it was great. But yeah, it's generally, I used to work in publishing and they would talk about comps where it's like, it's this and this meets that is a great structure. So sometimes it'll be like, oh, it's Thor, but what if he was jolly and also in magic? But trying to grab whatever really piques interest and then go, oh, but what if I leaned in and found ways to make it work? One of the character I was excited to tell you about when you asked this question, I got to play in a streamed campaign called Princesses Save Dragons.
Yeah, nice.
Jessica Macram who was actually an admin on the Goddesses Project. She had worked on the Uncaged anthology, but I knew I liked working with her because of princesses. This was another like, hey, people talking on Twitter, what if we had Disney princesses fighting a campaign? And so many people were into it that we started a Discord. There were 2 campaigns going at the same time because too many people wanted to be princesses. And I got to, my first choice was taken, but I was like, well, Ariel's cool. And I all my love to everybody who loves Ariel. I am not an Ariel hater. I'm sorry, she was my second choice. I wanted to be Rapunzel because I wanted a skillet to hit things with. But sure. But yeah, Ariel wasn't taken yet. And like, well, if there were ever a Disney princess who's a warlock, it's Ariel.
Oh, obviously. Must be.
She literally makes a pact. She signs it and gets powers. They're powers of walking, but they're powers. She has to give something up. She trades her voice. So I'm like, oh, wait, I could just be really creepy. I could be creepy, hyper-militaristic Ariel who doesn't understand what compassion is. I could learn that along the way. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. And just leaned full face into it. She was a Triton because she was walking around, but she was still kind of a merfolk and really high charisma, but also very strange. And I loved every minute of it. And I like recently got to play a scaled up version of her because as I do, and I know this isn't uncommon, even if you've stopped playing in a campaign, you still think about that character. You still think about like, what would they do next? And I was like, well, this character, like over the arc of the Princess's campaign, like she kept interacting with these genuinely wonderfully role-played characters based on princesses, or there was a character based on Miss Bianca from The Rescuers, and there was a character based on Princess Leia. Like it was fabulous. Mama from Coco, like everybody was there. And we had one based on Nala too. Anyway, sorry. But what I really took away from that was this was a character who was learning the power of friendship and what it was to be good and like do things other than like try to get power. So I was like, she's going to face off with her patron someday. There's going to be a fight, and she's not going to be a warlock anymore. She's going to multi-class bard, as you do when you are Ariel and you get your voice back.
And you can sing. Yeah.
You can sing now. So of course. But yeah, and one of my favorite things to do, and I've done this for my husband, but like I've done this for other characters too, where, oh, you've got a character. I love to build a playlist. And it's not just, I know sometimes ambiance is good and I like have it on while I'm working, but a lot of it for me is I'm a lyrics nerd. So it'll be, all right, well, this is really how she feels about this. And this is how she felt about this. And I realized I built this playlist chronologically through her life. So I've got it from when she takes the pact to when she starts adventuring to when like she realizes she's going to have this fight. And it's 3 hours long. It's a monster, but I love the music component. I love having those sort of lyrics as little poems that are about how your character feels. And if it wasn't clear already, I'm super into the role play end of things and using mechanics as a way to enable the role play. But yeah, I love being able to dip it. Like it's a wacky idea. Oh, Disney princesses saving dragons. So that'll be fun. But there were so many genuinely heartfelt moments in that stream and like feelings about your character that you all made up together. It really is so cool to take even just the seed of a weird idea and just fall face first into it and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've never considered myself a storyteller or a writer, even though I do both of those things pretty frequently now. But like, I've always loved the magic you can find within TTRPG storytelling. And like, you mentioned the music stuff before. Like, I'm a person who has always communicated through music. I've made many a playlist for my spouse, Sarah, like from when we first started dating, like songs that are from my perspective, songs that are from her perspective, songs that are about us. I still hear songs. Like there was a song I heard by Taylor Swift. No, not Taylor Swift. Carly Rae Jepsen off her album Emotion. And I can't remember what song it was now, but like I was like, this song is from the perspective of when I first met you. Please listen to it, kind of a thing. Yeah, and like I do that a lot, and I've done that with other characters too. I've never built a playlist for a D&D character, but I love that idea. But like I've built playlists based on fandoms. There are several Taylor Swift songs that I was like, when I was obsessed with Fire Emblem Three Houses, I was like, this song is about Claude, who I'm in love with and can't romance because Nintendo hates gay people, I guess. Anyway, and so like Taylor Swift has a song called The Archer. He's a pretty archer. Like it's just there was not a lot of ground I had to cover to make that connection. Really, it was just right there.
Yes.
But like I love that kind of devotion to a character, and I think it's brilliant that you can weave that stuff together. When you're writing, like say the stuff for Muses within Uncaged, was music part of that process? Was drawing inspiration from other places or other media part of that process?
Yeah. With the adventure I did for the Uncaged anthology, which
Hmm.
was the 4 volumes. That one I didn't lean as heavily into music, but I got really excited about the research phase. And because the music picked, and okay, I'll give a mild spoiler for everybody who's is like definitely gonna go play this now, but you should, it's fun.
I will
um
link to it in the show notes. You
Actually,
should go
yeah.
buy it and play it.
Actually, there's a series called Three Flings where they were playing through all of Uncaged. So I got to watch my module played on the stream, and I'm like,
That's
yes.
amazing.
And of course, like if you watch the stream of it, you can see I'm in chat, like freaking out, like yes, more 20s. But yeah, with that, I really dug into, okay, well, first of all, let me remember all of the muses' names. I'm not going to rattle them off here, but the one muse that I hadn't really played around with much was Orania, who's astronomy. I'm like, okay, well, cool. We're going to write an adventure about her. That sounds good. Let me read more about her symbolism. Let me read more about what she stands for. And okay, well, let's deep dive back into all the Greek myth stuff. And what can I pull from there? And yeah, that was much more of a trip down internet rabbit hole lane. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah, music's a part of it for that one. But for that one, I just got really excited about the research phase.
Sure. Well, I have to imagine that like you want to do stuff that's true to what's come before, but also make it your own and also make it gayer because everything should be gayer.
Yes.
Let's be real.
Yes.
And like my favorite thing about the goddess page that I'm on is the femme beholder and its beholder babies, which is just such a brilliant design.
She's wonderful. It's so cute. It's so cute yet terrifying, which it should be.
Obviously.
For the Great Mother. I think it's the Great Mother. It might be the All Mother.
Yeah, I believe so.
But yeah. Yeah, I've looked through that adventure. I had a dream about running that adventure not long ago. I should tell the writers on that. I had a dream about running it at a convention, like on stage at a convention. And nice. I was just like hanging out in the green room prepping and like, all right, giant beholders, I can do this. But yeah, it was such a cool process. With goddesses, the adventure I did is about Joaquin, who's a neutral goddess. So not evil, but also not good. She's the goddess of commerce and is venerated by, I love how deep I can go on the nerd stuff here. This is great. It's just like, there's no excuse. It's like, no, clearly she's a goddess of commerce rather than thievery. And it's nuanced. But she's venerated by thieves, but also merchants. Basically, if money or goods are trading hands, that's her thing. Mm-hmm. And for that one, I was very inspired by Leverage, the series.
Amazing. God, I love that show.
It's so good.
You know, fuck Timothy Hutton, but like the rest is great. Yeah.
I love the new one. Yeah.
The new one's great because he's gone. He died. Oh, boo-hoo. But the rest of the cast is there. And then the new I can't remember the actress's name who plays the new hacker, the younger sister. But she's so good. Amazing. And like that whole cast, like I love that cast. I love Christian Kane. I love the just stupidity that happens in the show, but I also love that the creator acknowledged the throuple that the characters were as well. But like actually acknowledged it, and then watching Leverage Redemption, letting them play up to it, like just like flirting and being stupid and having moments, and like even when it's such a good show. I don't want to spoil stuff that comes later, but yeah, that season was incredible, and I hope we get more. So I'd love to know that you built this goddess of commerce based on Leverage. That's amazing.
Yeah, I in the pitch, I like all but wanted to say, let's steal. Like, I'm not going to tell you what we steal because that would be a spoiler for the adventure. But let's steal a. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, Dean Devlin, is it? Oh no, yeah. I should have written this down.
I believe it's Dean Devlin. That sounds right.
Roger, is it? I don't. We'll edit in the names, right? We'll make me sound like
sure.
I have
oh yeah,
recall.
Totally, absolutely,
sure.
Yeah,
great,
totally. Yeah, this is all going to be perfectly edited.
So that guy was really brilliant when he wrote this, and one of the wonderful brains behind Leverage has posted about about D&D stuff. Like they've shown up in my D&D things on Twitter. So I'm like, okay, well, you understand the ways. And John Rogers, I think that's it. The way those adventures play out, there is so much heart in them. And I got to I read some of his pieces on how writing works and what kind of beats you look for. And I took a dive into that because what I wanted to do was write about D&D has a lot of struggles and has grown a lot through those struggles, which is great. And a lot of the new creators have helped grow from that. Some of the problems in D&D that they have recently been working to address are in world. So like in the fantasy world, racism and using conflicts based on, oh, well, orcs are evil. No. I kind of love how the recent wave of D&D has been like, tieflings are evil. Psh, no, they're amazing. Get out. So one of the things I wanted to do was like, well, why not make Greed the bad guy? Greed's a bad guy. How about that? Why don't we just take some things that I find deeply troubling about the world and put them in fantasy and make it gayer and add some sparkles and magic and like also their puzzle rooms. Because what I wanted to explore was, well, you know, there are things about leverage that don't necessarily work in D&D specifically, like splitting the party, not a great call in D&D, but a famous call in leverage. Like you need to split up. But you do have people who are the best at what they do in leverage. And by level 20 in D&D, you're probably the best at what you do. If not, a goddess is probably about what you'd have to be better. So taking that inspiration from leverage, but making a lot of the ideas that I loved about it work for D&D was part of what I really loved about this process. So yeah, the new season, especially the way that they had so much heart. And because these characters, anytime Christian Kane has an episode where there's a working person in trouble, I'm like, yes. When's he gonna make eye contact? When's he gonna say, look at me before he kicks someone's ass? Because they care so deeply. And I wanted to create scenarios where people who care deeply, yeah, they're doing puzzles and stuff, but they're trying to save the world from something horrible that is happening. And if the thing, like it's a ticking clock adventure, if the thing that you are trying to stop happening happens anyway, like there's a repercussion for it. Something else happens at the end. So you should still play it. D&D is fun. But yeah, it was great being able to take what I loved about leverage and what I loved about D&D and finding ways to weave it together.
That's brilliant. I love that. And like like I said, I'm a diehard leverage fan, like to the point where when my spouse and I started watching the new season, Parker is my favorite character.
Parker's great.
And I love Beth Reesgraff. And when we started watching it again, I tweeted about how like I love all the characters, I love the show, but if it weren't for Beth Reesgraff, like this is the reason I watched the show. And she replied and retweeted that tweet, and I died. Like I literally died. And so like I don't always get starstruck. I've worked amongst actors before. My spouse is an actress, and like I've been, you know, helped with charity events and stuff. But there are some actors and, you know, and performers that I will geek out about and lose my shit that other folks would be like, I don't know who that is. I don't understand why you're like, but like to me, they're giants. And like Beth is one of them. And so, but I think what I love about Leverage, especially Redemption as a show, is like Noah Wile's character is brought in not to replace Timothy Hutton's character, because you can't, right? In the narrative, even though
he's a mastermind, it doesn't work.
Right. Nathan Ford is loved by Sophie, and you can't, like, even though you don't want to use that character anymore, you have to still keep his place. And so bringing in a shitty, sleazy lawyer to then flip and become the good guy made so much sense. And yeah, I love that show so much. I think what I love about a good dramedy is that it just doesn't take itself seriously. And like they just exist in this world where it's our world, but like they have tech that we don't necessarily have, hacking that we don't necessarily have. And then there's a thief who loves air vents. Like it's just a thing and it's okay. Like in love with air vents. Like it's just it's brilliant. So to know that there's a D&D module out there now that's like Leverage, and like my co-host on Reignite, Frankie Bradley Lestrange, they love Leverage as well. We've talked about it a bunch, and they've recently been playing a lot more D&D and tabletop, mostly based in the Mass Effect universe, but some other things as well. Now I have to tell them about this module because they'll lose their shit. Like, I have a different appreciation for D&D now that I've also made some content related to D&D.
Right.
Like I was in a YouTube series. It was a great pitch that my friend Caleb made where it's retired adventurers owning a bar.
Yes.
Two of the characters are one's the bar owner. I played the bar owner's good friend, who is like the bartender and like the workhorse. Then there's one person who's playing a patron, and then another person who's a recently hired. And like, it was the dumbest thing. We did a season of it, and like we may do some more, but like it was just such a goofy premise, and I like goofy premises for D&D. Or like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Mass Effect franchise at all, but there's an existing character, a Hanar, which are these floating telepathic jellyfish race, that in world is an action movie star playing Blasto is his name. And he makes movies that are like cheesy action movies where he claims to be a Spectre and all that. When we're wrapping up the second season of Reignite, my co-host is like, well, what if we did a TRPG module? And what if we did Blasto? What if we did one of the movies? Like we just created it. And so like our friend Josh did that session, which is in the second season. And then in the third season, someone who was in that campaign, Frankie's husband, he ran a 2-part of another movie where I got to play the titular Blasto. Everyone else made up their own characters. We got to create this world within a world, which is my favorite thing, because one of the things that turned me off to playing Star Wars so fast is I had friends who were lore lawyers, who I hate, who like, if we encountered Darth Vader, we couldn't fight him because it can't happen, because if we kill him, then it changes the continuity. And it's like, no, then just write new continuity. Let's make a new story. I hate when people in D&D are like, no, we have to fit this mold. And what I love about what you're telling me about this module you made and the kind of stuff that you do is that everyone's just like, nah, fuck it. Let's see what we can do. Let's mess shit up.
Very much. Let's perhaps let us fuck around and find out what happens.
Yes.
But yeah, part of what was so cool about this was like, you didn't have to follow the script you might expect about, hey, let's do a book about evil goddesses where they're all actually good and just misunderstood. Because that's not what we were trying to do. We were trying to make something that was maybe simplistic, maybe worth exploring in a different way, and just dive into that. So like, if you're looking for something where all the evil goddesses are redeemed, this is not your book. But if you're looking for something super interesting, that's going to create neat avenues to play. And I would invite people to consider how one party could play multiple adventures in this book. We had a bit of, I won't reveal much, but in the Discord, we had a bit of a conversation about how could you do this as a campaign? Like once your characters get above level 17 and you're feeling like, I've written so much for these characters, let me have something pre-written, please. How would you arrange these? What would you do? And like, if you get the loot drop at the end of my adventure, should you go to their adventure next? It isn't a playthrough like that, but
right.
Yeah, that it wasn't the scripted sort of, they're really good. Villains have a heart of gold. A lot of them don't. And they're not supposed to. And that's fine. Like the concept of having evil gods is interesting on its own, mythos wise. Oh, geez, I said mythos. I get like my NYU kid points for the day. But it's that in Foucault. I just got to name drop them at some point.
No, it's fine.
But,
you got to use big words every so often to make sure people know how smart you are. I get it.
Exactly. There's an imperative to do so.
If I don't use the word plethora at least once a day, or plethora, however you want to say it, then how will they know how smart I am?
You need a myriad of words of this kind, yes?
Exactly.
How else will they know you're good at Scrabble?
I am shit at Scrabble, for the record. Bad. Spelling, like not my strength. Grammar, not my strength. No, I'm terrible at Scrabble.
But yeah, it's exploring without feeling locked into existing lore is great. And okay, I want to be compassionate to people who really like the lore.
Sure.
But if the lore sucks or if the lore is boring, you don't need it. With a lot of folks, I've had the good fortune really, and I'm so grateful for this, to talk to and play with a bunch of people who are new to the game. DMing for new players is one of my favorite things to do. It's fantastic because, well, for a lot of reasons, it's fun for me as a DM, but also you get to be part of that person's first experience of playing. And you get to put thought into the world that you're going to create, not just in the game, but at your table and the environment that you choose to foster there. And it's been great being able to say, yes, there's a book, but I haven't read it. It's neither have I. Do not worry about this.
You're fine.
The book is just there so you don't have to remember or make up everything. It's a resource. It's not what you're locked into. And folks at D&D, they use different words, but they say something similar. Like, it's your game. You get to build it. So yeah, if you want to like fight Darth Vader, if you want to take Darth Vader to a coffee shop AU, like do whatever you want to. It's whatever. Redeem him.
Man, now I want that Star Wars high school like Riverdale style AU. Like, I can already see it. Han Solo's the jock, the lovable jock, right? You know, Leia is the head of the cheerleading squad. Or we can flip it, right? Fuck it. Make Han Solo the head of cheerleading squad.
She's like
Make
the field
Leia
hockey
the
team
jock
or something.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, kicking ass. No, I like this too much now. I used to be in a lightsaber stage combat group. So like my heart is so happy thinking these thoughts. Yeah, it just... change it. If you don't like it, change it. And that's, I mean, to pull back, that's a great way to approach the world, isn't it? But in D&D, you can play with it. And I read somewhere recently that the thought that play is where you can develop secure attachment. If you're into attachment style research and things like that. Oh, look, a hard turn in subject matter. But I read that, and then I thought back to a lot of the relationships that I've been able to build. Like, my husband and I got to know each other playing D&D. And he'll joke that, well, there's no better way to get to know someone than by pretending to be someone else. And like, that's catfishing. Oh no. But yeah, play is a place where you're able to take on new roles, and it's low stakes in a way that actual interactions are not. And it's such a wonderful environment if you choose to create one that way. Yeah. And also, like, you can kill dragons or like fight the forces of capitalism. That's fine.
Or both. They could be capitalist dragons.
Yes, you could. That works. That works really well.
Yeah, dragons love their treasure. So
yeah.
Wait, are we saying that Jeff Bezos is secretly a dragon? Can we go slay him? Is that?
I am going to suggest. I don't say this lightly. Maybe check out Uncaged Goddesses. There's a Joaquin adventure you might be interested in if you're interested in upsetting the balance of power like that.
Right. Not that I would actually kill Jeff Bezos, FBI agent that's listening right now. Never do that.
Incredibly bored agent who is paid to listen to me talk. No, that is not what we're talking about here. But yeah, it's wonderfully freeing to imagine a world that doesn't have to have the same isms as ours. That sounds so trite, but like it's you made it up. Why would there be racism in a world where you didn't want there? Like, you have the freedom to try and build a world like that and make it work. And you can get rid of a lot of it and you can keep other things. And if you want to just punch a bunch of sexist city guards in the face, like, talk to your group and see if they want to do that. And if they do that, you have a lot of freedom. And I guess apart from the friends I made along the way, the freedom is what I love most about tabletop RPGs. Friends, freedom, fan art. That's probably the tiers.
That's a good list. I can agree with that. Yeah. The first time I ever had someone do fan art of a character of mine, I lost my shit. Like, it's just, there's nothing like that. My favorite thing is that I got to lean into my own fan art also. So I don't know how familiar you are with the game Hades, but it's a game that has very sexy characters and a lot of gods of different varieties. And so there's a creator online whose name I can't remember. God, I'm going to
edit it in
later.
We'll edit
it in. Right. Yeah, perfect. Exactly. I'm totally not going to.
That's fine.
But I commissioned
It'll be in the notes.
I commissioned them to make me. They did art in the style of Hades, and created actual people in the style of Hades. So I asked if they could make me as the god of podcasting, and if it's the coolest thing. I wish that I'd done it this year instead of last year, because my hair is completely different and I don't have facial hair anymore. But like, it's the coolest thing, and like, so creating those kinds of characters or seeing myself in that way is a cool thing too. And D&D has definitely let me do that. Like, reimagine myself. Like, if I'm playing, I try every time now when I play to play a character less and less like myself, because I was always afraid to role play. I was always afraid to look stupid or look silly. And like, now,
oh, cool.
I don't give a shit. And so like, I try to live my own life being a little gayer every day, but also I feel like that's a good, like, the more I feel outside my comfort zone with the character, the more that I can become that other person and not be me. I'm not someone who's written a lot of fan fiction, but I realized replaying Mass Effect over and over again, creating different Shepards, male or female, because it has the binary, unfortunately. Every time I create a new Shepard, I'm telling a new fan fiction of Commander Shepard, because there's no canonical version of Shepard unless you have a canonical version, which I do. I have the first femme Shep I played is Rain Shepherd is like my Shepherd. This is the Shepherd I made. And everything else is just fan fiction. And like once I realized that, I went, oh, fuck. How about that? That's another way to tell stories. Look at me. Before we wrap up, I do want to ask, do you have, so obviously you're very experienced with D&D, both playing and writing for it. Are there things outside of D&D that you get lost in? Do you play video games? Do you listen to a lot of music, watch TV, read books? Like, what are the kinds of other worlds you get lost in outside of D&D?
They shift a lot. I don't
What's your
say,
latest obsession?
My latest obsession is foraging, like food foraging. Right?
Okay.
Totally different podcast now. No. I mean, like a lot of people in these are current times, I got interested in social media a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've worked in it forever, but I was following Alexis Nicole, Black Forager on Instagram, who has done amazing work in this space. And you want to talk about the intersection of like society, interest, and super fun at the same time. It's perfect. And I'm of course, one interest informs another. So as I'm reading about like, here are plants that people call weeds, but they were actually cultivated by indigenous populations centuries before my ancestors got here. Here's what it means to take care of a landscape while also eating it. Here's what you live, how you live impacts the world around you. It's been such a cool way for me to learn more about this new Chicagoland place that I'm in, because there's food out here that did not exist in the New York area. Now, both places are very heavily paved, but it is different. There are some plants, but diving into an interest like that then informs what I want to do with my other creative outlets. So I'll take in from one, like I have a stack of foraging books from the library right now, but I also have a few drafts worked up for D&D content I want to make related to foraging in those worlds, because people are cozy and there are games where you do that. Sure, maybe they have impact on spells if you cast using them as components. It's the whole thing. And like I also sew and cosplay, so I'm working through a bunch of patterns and like maybe I should get into corsetry. There's some neat like cottagecore patterns. I'm interested in this, and what if I added flouncy sleeves? It's neat because there are opportunities to take in and then create things based on it. So yeah, foraging would be the most recent one there, but yeah, I do a lot of sewing too. I'm working on a project bag pattern that I'm excited about because it doesn't have closures. I knit, and like knit yarn gets stuck on zippers for me if you are klutzy like me and are just like, no, I need to close it now. Oh, fuck. Well, new project. But yeah, like it's a lot of times it's picking something up and turning it and seeing if I can see something different from a different perspective, like a Disney character or perhaps a goddess. And in this case, it's berries and weeds and dandelions and shit.
Look, I love when people think about shit that other people don't think about, because that kind of nuance is really cool to me. I keep bringing up Mass Effect because it's one of the few game worlds that I know the ins and outs of so much. But like, I've read every codex, I've researched every character that's there, and so like I know these intricacies that other people who play the game, gun go bang, I have force powers. Like they may not think on that level, and that's fine. But I love looking at those kinds of intricacies. And I think having other hobbies that can then lead back into whatever your main hobby is, or like one thing fueling the other, is really interesting. Like me watching the Castlevania anime and then wanting to make a character that's like Trevor. And then later, the following year playing a indie game that's much like Castlevania. Like all of that stuff kind of feeds back into itself. And so I think that having hobbies that just inform and make you want to do more work in your other hobby is kind of the world we live in now.
Yeah. I read advice at one point that said, every morning you should create before consuming. And I'm like, that's nice, but I need to have breakfast. Like I need to consume something before I can create things. And like balancing them out, sure. But also giving myself, and if I had advice for anyone, you did not ask for this, but if I had advice for anyone,
I welcome it though.
It would be what I am trying to advise myself. So I'm telling myself this at the same time, to give yourself a lot of grace when it comes to creating. I don't think I would have made the content I've made with goddesses, for example, if I had been doing it on my own. I needed a team. And I didn't know that until I was able to find one. We're in a global panini press and it's bad. So if you're feeling tapped and like your creativity is gone, it may just be sleeping. And like it may be time to rest. It may be time to take something in. Those are equally, I'm gonna say equally, I don't know the ratio, but extremely important parts of the creative process. And like, I have to remind myself all the time, it's like, it's okay if you only have half an idea. Wait, why don't you watch something you love? Put on another episode of Leverage because you love that show. Maybe cue up the librarians. I don't know, something. But
we're just going on a Christian Kane run now at this
all of
point.
It. Yeah. Doesn't he sound like a superhero? Like Christian Kane.
He does.
Anyway, it's related to Kathy Kane. He's in the DC universe. It's fine. But yeah, being able to take that space and just you'll make stuff. Believe. Oh, that's so trite. Make me sound cooler.
It's sorry, I can't make you sound cooler than you are. It's not a skill I have. Trust me, because otherwise I'd make myself sound cooler, which I can't. So there you go.
Because you are super cool.
Oh, please get out of here.
Secret. No.
Please stop. Do go on. No. The last thing I want to ask, because you actually brought it up, and this is something I've been asking more lately of my guests, is, we are living in a global pandemic. It's still not over yet. Please get vaccinated. Please wear a mask.
Yes.
Please get boosted. But that said, the pandemic's been hard for everybody in a lot of different ways. We've all gone through different levels of bullshit throughout the whole thing. But I constantly try and look at the silver lining, that there is good that has come out of this, whether you got closer with friends or check in more or got to spend more time with close family or partners. Is there a silver lining that you can point to, a really good thing that came out of this terrible time, that like you're at least relieved that this kind of cool thing happened or this good thing happened?
This is a very good question. And it's probably good that you asked it at the end, because otherwise I would just want to talk about this the whole time. But I think I am better at questioning things now than I was previously. I think I pay more attention. Well, like I already paid attention to sources. I was always an X-Files fan. I want to know the source of everything. I need to know the truth. But I like being able to be patient and interrogate things and be able to say, well, okay, why do I find this interesting? Or why am I uncomfortable with this? I don't need an answer right away, but I need to sit with that question. And I can draw it up together. So much of the world has had to sit with uncertainty, or in my case, I don't want to speak for other people. I think other people have felt it, but institutions that we would have put trust in before, we are no longer willing to trust. I think often for very good reasons. And sitting with that discomfort is very challenging. Trying to figure out what we are supposed to do when all the alternatives are not great. It's very challenging to do that, but we've been in a position to practice sitting with very uncomfortable things. And I'm not going to say it's great that we're put in this uncomfortable, terrible situation, because it's not great. I'm doing silly voices, but it's very serious. And learning to grapple with things that are hard to grapple with is a very worthy pursuit. So when it's hard, like you're getting practice, you're getting reps with doing something that's extremely worthy and extremely challenging. So I'm glad that we've culturally been able to some degree do that, to be able to like, okay, how do I feel? Like a lot of us are in therapy now, which is good. Yes. And like, because, you have organs, you have emotions, there are doctors that specialize in each. And like, yeah, I could go off on this for ages, but the ability to sit with discomfort and be patient with it and not be angry at discomfort or want to suppress it. I feel like I've really grown in that area, and I've been really grateful for it. And I promise I'm very fun at parties when they're safe and you can still invite me to hang out places. I'm not this dour all the time, but yeah, it's such a worthy thing to be able to do. And I think a lot of us are learning how to do it. And so when it's uncomfortable, like, yeah, it's supposed to be.
That's so well said. I love that. Yeah, I think that refocusing and understanding, I mean, that's a core concept of this podcast. We'll get to that in a moment when I have you do our sign off. But like how you talked about creating, but there are things that come before creating, and how you have to manage yourself before you can manage others. All of that stuff is really important. And so before I have you do our sign off, I would love first of all, thank you for joining me. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm very sad to learn that you're no longer in Brooklyn, because now when the panini is over, we can't hang out until one of us visits the other, but there's potential for that in the future.
My goal was always to go back a couple times a year. So
Yes.
like that's the goal. And
Hell yeah.
eventually I got,
We'll hang out in person.
I'm making a list. Yes.
But thank you for joining me. This was really fun. I would love for you to tell folks where they can find you online, where they can find your work online, the best place to check out all the stuff that you do.
Sure. Well, let's see. I'm most active on the Twitters because, again, that's how old I am. But I'm in marketing. I know that demographic. I know where I am. But yeah, you can find me at Margaret Mae. We're probably got it's Maynard is actually spelled like the Greek myth thing. I have a brand, but yeah, that's the easiest place to find me. I do post links there, and I am also one of the Uncaged contributors on DM's Guild, so that's where my writing lives right now. But I will update my Twitter bio with anything that comes out, new content. There's some more stuff in the works. Isn't there always an NDA somewhere? Waiting?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the best place to find me on the internet these days.
Awesome. Well, I definitely recommend giving Margaret a follow. Definitely go check out all of the books in this anthology.
They're so good. They're so pretty.
They are very pretty. I will put a link to that in the show notes. The last thing I'll have you do before we sign off is we have a saying on the podcast. The saying is, music is life and life is good. It's born out of my now on indefinite hiatus music podcast because it's dead, but I won't admit it. But it's been dead for a while. It's fine.
D&D characters come back from the dead all the time. Marvel has taught us what? Things come back from the dead.
Exactly.
Even Bucky.
Bucky. But it's born out of that show, and it's this idea that as long as you're making stuff, even when life gets really hard, pursuing that creativity in any way that you can always makes things better. So if you could say music is life and life is good, we will end the show.
Music is life and life is good.
That's it for this episode of CPOV Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It's a great way to help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email mr.nat.storm@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at CPOV Autographs. Thank you so much for listening.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.